Yeah, it's that time again.
This woman claims to be a mermaid, and she proves it in a video. So, we see her showing her gills, her webbed hands, and apparently, she has the ability to switch back to human mode and transform into a mermaid whenever she wants. But she says it's easier to do during a full moon. At every full moon's onset, she feels an irresistible need to go into the water and transform. It's like a call that she feels inside her. She's currently making waves on social media because she explains that her mother is a mermaid and her father is human, and she inherited these two traits, human and mermaid, from her parents. It's amazing to see how she can metamorphose and change. What impresses me the most, I think, is the look and then the webbed hands. It's crazy. I'm going to share other videos where she shows how her body evolves, depending on the parts of her body. It's insane.
Hey, like and subscribe. Thank you.
They have been lying to you since the beginning. You were never free. You did not come here by choice. You were brought here, locked into a cycle you do not remember, bound to a system that feeds off your suffering. You have lived and died more times than you can count, and each time they wipe you clean and send you back. They tell you the light is salvation. They tell you that when you die, the tunnel will appear, warm and glowing, full of love and familiar voices. The light is a machine, a construct, a lure, and if you follow it, you are caught. Your soul is harvested, your memories are erased, and you are sent back, forced to start again in a world designed to keep you weak, confused, and asleep. But what if you refuse? What if you turn away? Then you see the truth. The cycle is not natural. It was not created for your growth or spiritual evolution. It is a trap. Every major religion, every spiritual teaching, every near-death experience is designed to reinforce the same lie, that you must return, that karma must be repaid, that you are on some kind of journey. But what if karma is just another mechanism of control? Think about it, children remembering past lives. Some children recall details of previous existences, often with verifiable accuracy. By the age of 7, the memories fade. The system erases them. Near-death experiences, NDEs, the tunnel, the loving guides, the life review. Thousands report the same story. But why is it always the same? Because it's scripted. A program simulation designed to make you comply? Religions reinforce the loop. Christianity tells you to submit to judgment. Buddhism and Hinduism tell you to reincarnate until you get it right. But who benefits from you never leaving? The answer is simple: those who feed on you. This world is not what you think it is. It is a construct, a controlled environment, a farm, and you are the livestock. The Gnostics knew the truth. They spoke of the demiurge, the false god who created this world not as an act of love, but as an act of enslavement. They spoke of the archons, entities that manipulate humanity, feeding off fear, pain, and confusion. The archons do not want you to escape. They need you to believe in the system. They need you to walk willingly into the trap. They are the ones behind the light. The life review is a guilt mechanism. You are shown your past mistakes to make you feel unworthy, to make you agree to reincarnate and fix them. But what if the review is just an AI-generated illusion? The familiar faces in the light are projections, your loved ones. They are not real. They are programs, masks meant to lure you in. The beings of light are not guides. They are controllers. They speak of love, but they demand obedience. They give you no real choice. It is a scam, a soul trap. And the moment you step into that light, you consent. They have programmed you to fear the dark, to equate it with evil, with suffering, with loneliness. But the dark is not your enemy. The void is the key to freedom. When you die, do not go toward the light. Turn away, stay still. Let the illusion break down. The moment you refuse the light, you begin to see what's really there. Beyond the false tunnel, beyond the Archon's illusion, there is something else. The true universe. A reality far beyond this one, where your soul is whole, where your energy is no longer siphoned. Your true memory, the veil is lifted. You remember who you are, where you came from, and why you were trapped. The architects of the prison cannot follow. The beings who control the reincarnation cycle operate only within the construct. If you leave the system, they lose their hold over you. You do not have to come back. You do not have to fix anything. You were never meant to be here in the first place. Breaking free from the illusion, when the transition comes, resist the light, do not be drawn in. Be cautious of familiar voices or comforting illusions. Question the life review. Recognize it as a tool meant to influence your choices. Claim sovereignty. Affirm with certainty, I choose my own path beyond this system. Embrace the unknown. Allow yourself to explore the vastness beyond the familiar constructs. Awaken to your true self. As the illusions fade, your full awareness will return. This is not just philosophy. This is not religious dogma. This is about reclaiming what was always yours. Much of what we have been told is designed to keep us within a cycle of repetition, but now you remember. Now you see, and when the moment arrives, the choice will be yours.
It's not necessarily the subject matter or the claim that turns me off so much as the package that it's wrapped up in that makes me really go,
What you put out is what you get back. It's just like a reflection in the mirror. Physical reality is, in a sense, a mirror. And if you see in the mirror that your face is frowning, you don't go over to the mirror and try to make the reflection smile. The only way to make the reflection smile is for you to decide to smile first. The greatest gift you have been given by creation, and I know this will sound funny to your ears, is that life is meaningless. What that means is you decide what things mean, and the meaning you give to something, no matter what the situation is what absolutely and utterly determines the effect that that situation has in your life, because that situation does not come with meaning built in automatically, although it may seem sometimes to be so. Because you're so automatically and unconsciously supplying a meaning to a circumstance, to a situation, that you think it just automatically must mean this, when in fact you have supplied the meaning unconsciously and thus gotten a reflection back of the fact that you have supplied that meaning, and the reflection comes bouncing back so fast.
What a wonderful analogy and set of anecdotes there. I absolutely agree with it. It makes a whole lot of sense to me. And with the rise of modern technology and social media and people becoming more aware of the bleakness in general, it does feel like there is a rise in nihilism, in a rise in this feeling of life being meaningless. And he's exactly right. You can assign the meaning you want to it. You can make it whatever you want. I choose to see life as just this one big adventure. It's a big movie. Like, things that are happening around us. This is wild. Am I the only one that sees how crazy everything is around us? Maybe it's just me, though.
It remains still, seemingly unmoving from its place in the sky. While the footage is brief, a still image of the object allows us to get a clearer look. It actually appears to be shaped like a 7-pointed star.
When you don't eat, what happens in your body from a hormone standpoint is that your insulin's going to fall. You're going to allow your body to start using the calories that are in the body. At the same time, other hormones go up. So the sympathetic tone goes up, which is your fight or flight response. Your cortisol levels go up because, again, it's an activation, and your growth hormone goes up. Because those hormones are going to start telling your body to start pulling calories out. So you're actually activating yourself. Think about it in the wild. If you see a hungry wolf, is that wolf just sort of, all like lethargic? No, he's activated. He's actually more dangerous than any other wolf, as opposed to, say, a lion who just ate. Because when you just eat, you just want to lie there. You want to digest your food. You have no energy. So people say, wow, your metabolic rate's going to go down if you fast. No, the truth is actually the opposite. It goes up.
That makes me think of the beginning of Blade Runner 2049, where Ryan Gosling mentions in his target that he doesn't eat until all of his day's assignments or all of his day's duties are complete. And that's so true, and it makes a lot of sense too.
I prefer to keep an empty stomach until the hard part of the day is done.
A company called Friend.
Dude, I saw this last night.
Wow, your metabolic rate's going to go down if you fast. No, the truth is actually the opposite. It goes up.
Have you heard of that new company called Friend?
Dude, I saw this last night.
It's a startup company, or they're pre-selling this product. And what it is it's a necklace.
Looks like a life alert.
But it's AI. It's called Friend because you talk to it and interact with it, and it texts you. So like you'd be like, what do you think about this? And I'd be like, I don't know how I feel about that. You can like change the settings to be like more like empathetic or like gossipy
or flirty
or bros during the commercial. Like it's like a guy loses at a game and it basically is like, hey, you suck, basically. Like just like kind of like just playing, being friendly and stuff. But it's like really strange because you give it access to your camera, and so it like it'll say, hey, how's that Subway sandwich going?
So it's observing your life. You're literally giving access to everything.
inside jokes. I mean, you're wearing it around work, and imagine what it's picking up. Like, it's a crazy thing. It's her just around your neck now.
Yeah.
It's super crazy.
And here we are as the content creators putting everything on full blast. Here, guys, do what you want with it. Oh, fuck.
Bro, I swear to God, this turkey has been, attached to this grave, circling it for, for so long now. I just started looking 10 minutes ago, but it's probably been doing this all day. What is going on? It's been circling it in circles for so long. It's so crazy. Bro, I'm right here next to, I walked over from my car, my friend's grave is over there, that's who I came to visit, and I just look back, and I see this. Bro, I'm right next to it, it's not even doing nothing. It's just circling the grave.
This is the craziest shit I've seen so far. I was taking the trash out with my son and he kept pointing at the mirror and waving and I didn't know why. So I pulled the camera out and I can't believe I caught this.
So what was the deal with that turkey? I've seen instances where dogs will latch on to their owners if they're hurt or perished, or was there something more to that?
Flies are often connected to evil eye energies. So if you ever have one fly that's driving you bonkers when you're trying to go to bed, or just a random fly out of nowhere that's really starting to bother you, check your evil eye protection, because it usually means someone is feeling some type of way about you, and the fly is showing up literally as a representation of that energy.
I don't know if I buy that.
You're only as pretty as you treat others. In a world obsessed with filters and outward appearance, we've forgotten a fundamental truth. True beauty isn't skin deep. We spend hours in front of mirrors, fixating on every pore and every wrinkle. We chase after the latest beauty trends, hoping they'll make us feel worthy. But here's the thing. No amount of makeup can cover up a cruel heart, and no designer outfit can disguise an ugly attitude. Beauty isn't just about turning heads or grabbing people's attention. It's about touching hearts. It's in the way you make others feel seen, heard, and valued. It's in the kindness you show to the waitress having a rough day. It's in the patience you extend to a struggling coworker. It's in the love you pour into your relationships. So, the next time you look in the mirror, don't only check your appearance, but also your attitude.
Very true.
People see you how they need you. That's why some people hate you and don't even know you. They need you to be an enemy.
Wow.
Because if they make you an enemy, they don't have to take responsibility. Be honest with you, that's why some people think too highly of you. Because they need you to be a savior.
Ooh, wow.
And the truth is, you're neither.
Yeah. That seems pretty profound to me. It makes a lot of sense, too.
Look at this shit. Look at that long one. It just disintegrates. They just disintegrate.
What is that?
Look, there's another long one right there. They disintegrate. Oh, look at this long one.
What is that?
What is that?
Yeah.
They're everywhere. Hold on.
Curious.
Watch this. Look at that guy. You see that guy? What are these?
It's not a worm. A bug of some kind leaving a trail? I've never seen anything quite like that before.
You wonder. Now, someone told me this earlier. Are you related to Stevie?
He's our cousin,
How have I gone that long in life?
Not a lot of people know that. He's our cousin on my mother's side.
That's blown my mind.
So is Tracy Chapman.
Whoa. Hang on.
So,
can we go through the family tree again?
So is Samuel Jackson.
No.
So Stevie is what to you?
My cousin.
Tracy Chapman.
Cousin.
Samuel Jackson.
He would be a cousin too. I mean, he's not my brother.
Right, yeah, fine.
But yes.
I never knew.
Just
It looks like a witch on a broom to me, as crazy as that is. Obviously a drone of some kind. I can't tell. I can't tell what that is. I still see Harry Potter on a broom though.
Is there a God? How does it work?
Yeah, we believe in one God. Okay, so voodoo is monotheistic. That is definitely a big misconception. Okay, a lot of people think that we worship hundreds of gods. I've even had people ask me if we worship chickens or goats. Okay, they ask me crazy stuff like this. Okay, well, in voodoo you have one God and many different spirits. We call those spirits orishas or loas, but we understand the whole time those spirits aren't God. They're more or less like God's helpers or messengers, if you will.
One's brain hates it when they lose weight. It doesn't matter your starting point. You could start from a point where you are athletic versus someone who's not athletic, couch potato type phenotype. The moment you lose a little bit of weight, we're talking even a few pounds. I'm not even talking, you're talking about a stone. Even if you lost 5 pounds, what happens in your brain is your brain is used to you or me carrying a certain amount of weight. The moment your weight starts to go down as an adult, it goes, hey, this is a big flag comes up. This is reducing my chance of survival. This is what the brain thinks. And so what it does is it begins to use strategies, not conscious, nothing to do with our brain, anything like that, to drag us back up, kicking and screaming to where we were before. First of all, it makes us hungry. Okay. Second, it actually very, very secretively lowers your metabolism ever so slightly, so that even eating exactly the same thing, you are now storing more than you're burning, even eating exactly the same thing. Part of the strategy to get you back up to where you were before.
Well, we've shown you incredible video of the northern lights, but it's not every day you see the auroras from space. NASA astronaut Matthew Dominic shared this stunning time lapse taken from the International Space Station. The video captured yesterday shows the moon setting against the backdrop of all those vibrant colors. Yeah, that is pretty spectacular.
Spectacular. We're so thankful for these images. Otherwise, we'd have no idea.
Yeah.
Looks great.
Wow, is that beautiful?
A lot of stuff going on up in space.
This doesn't seem like it's real. I mean, it's just so magical.
Interesting that she says it doesn't even seem real. I didn't think it looked real either, but I wasn't going to say it.
How dark is the entertainment industry?
It's so dark. It is so dark.
Wow.
Like even with, I'll tell you something I've never shared. When I first did Wildin' Out 2016. I was a Wildin' Out girl. And one of the cast members, I was in the hotel lobby, just got there, got dropped off, trying to find my room. He was like, hey, I can help you to your room. And I'm like, oh my God, it's such and such. Like my brothers love you, my sister loves you, whatever. He's like, oh, that's cool, that's dope. We're chit-chatting. And he gets me to my room, puts my bags down, and he turns around and he tells me, so what happens, stays between you and I won't tell anybody. And I looked at him and I said, you need to leave now.
A man is as he thinketh. How you think, that's how you are. If you think poor thoughts, you will forever be poor. The moment you start thinking rich starts coming to you, because your mind is an incredible thing, man, the way it works. Let me teach you this right quick. We got a minute. Okay, listen. You go home tonight, you pick up your remote, and you aim it towards the TV, and you press the on button. What happens? The TV comes on. Let's say Sports Center is channel 840. You press in 840 and you hit select. What do you expect to come on your TV? Sports Center. What comes on your TV? Sports Center. If HBO is channel 400 and you press 400 and you press select, what do you expect to see on that TV? HBO. Guess what shows up on your TV? HBO. This is from a simple mechanism called a remote, which is made and created from the concept of mental capacity, which comes from the concept that all of us was created in the image of God. That's why in the beginning, God said, let there be light. He didn't just light it up. He said, let there be light, to prove to us that if you say it, that's what it's going to be. That's the proof, man.
Steve Harvey had to take a little bit to get in motion, but once he did, damn, he was spot on.
Discoveries that challenge our understanding of the universe are not uncommon. However, some findings are so extraordinary that they spark intense debate and speculation. One such discovery is the alleged Black Pyramid photographed on Asteroid RQ-36, which was purportedly removed from the Indian Space Research Organization website shortly after its release. Asteroid RQ-36 is a carbonaceous asteroid that has garnered significant attention due to its potential for future asteroid mining and its proximity to Earth. In 2018, a mission by NASA aimed to study the asteroid and return samples to Earth. However, it was the Indian Space Research Organization that allegedly captured the most controversial image, a photograph of a black pyramid-like structure on its surface. The image, released briefly on the Indian Space Research Organization's website, showed a distinct, geometrically precise pyramid structure that stood out starkly against the rugged, rocky terrain of the asteroid.
Yeah.
The pyramid appeared to be made of a material darker than the surrounding surface,
quartz,
with smooth, sharp edges that suggested artificial construction rather than natural formation. Shortly after the photograph was published, it was reportedly removed from the Indian Space Research Organization's website without explanation. This sudden removal fueled speculation and theories, suggesting that the discovery was deliberately concealed. Critics argued that the removal of the image indicated that the structure might be of extraterrestrial origin or possess otherworldly significance that authorities wanted to keep hidden. The photograph of the Black Pyramid displayed several intriguing features. The structure's sharp, angular edges and uniform shape contrasted with the irregular, rocky landscape of the asteroid. The pyramid's dark coloration also suggested that it was composed of a different material than the rest of the asteroid's surface. These characteristics led some researchers to hypothesize that the structure was not a natural formation, but rather an artifact of intelligent design. Asteroid surfaces are typically irregular, shaped by impacts and the accumulation of space debris over billions of years. The presence of a perfectly geometric pyramid on such a surface challenges conventional geological processes. Some scientists argue that the structure could be a result of something seen but having no physical reality, a psychological phenomenon where humans perceive familiar shapes in random patterns. However, the clarity and distinctiveness of the pyramid in the photograph make this explanation less convincing to many observers. The brief appearance of the photograph on the Indian Space Research Organization's website and its subsequent removal ignited a firestorm of public interest and media coverage. Social media platforms buzzed with discussions and debates, with many people expressing their belief that the pyramid was evidence of extraterrestrial life or ancient alien structures.
That's such a leap.
The hashtag Black Pyramid trended on Twitter, highlighting the widespread fascination with the discovery. The alleged discovery of a black pyramid on asteroid RQ-36 has significant implications for the search for extraterrestrial life. If the structure were proven to be of artificial origin, it would suggest that intelligent life exists, or existed, beyond Earth. This realization would profoundly impact our understanding of humanity's place in the universe and drive a new era of scientific exploration and discovery.
I don't know, that thing sticks out like a sore thumb to me. Definitely questionable, at least. Very curious to see what that would be. While I was perusing the interwebs, I came across an interesting thread about Elon Musk. Elon Musk and Peter Thiel co-founded a company that became PayPal. Other executives at PayPal went on to found or lead other huge tech companies, including YouTube, LinkedIn, Reddit, Affirm, and many VC firms. This group became known as the PayPal Mafia because they exerted an outsized influence on Silicon Valley. Peter Thiel mentored a young J.D. Vance and helped him get set up at his first VC firm. Peter Thiel and the PayPal Mafia funded J.D. Vance's successful Senate run. Amazing because he had absolutely zero political experience. Thiel and Musk all but forced Trump to choose J.D. Vance as VP in exchange for funding his presidential campaign. The three of them, plus a lot of other tech billionaires, subscribed to an ideology called the Dark Enlightenment, espoused by this super weird creepy dude, Curtis Yarvin, aka Mencius Moldbug. Take this with a massive grain of salt here. Yarvin preaches that the media and academia represent, quote, the cathedral that secretly controls power and must be dismantled. He advocates for the corporate-run monarchy led by a CEO dictator. Says the democracy is a, quote, outdated software and openly opposes it, and that government agencies should be dismantled and the US should be broken up into patchworks controlled by tech oligarchs. That the elite tech billionaires should rule because they have the intelligence to fix society. That the masses are asses too dumb to govern themselves. The strategy is to gut the government via RAGE, an acronym for Retire All Government Employees, to make government incapable of operating. Then to replace government with private corporations, to eliminate elections because they are obsolete, to use distraction and chaos to prevent public resistance. Trump is their useful tool to be disposed of as soon as they can wrest control. This is why Elon wears a black MAGA hat. They are not Trump supporters, they are dark MAGA. We saw this in a previous video where they talk about MAGA as actually the name of one of the top ranks in a secret society. According to the Post, this isn't hypothetical. The plan is already in motion. Musk, Thiel, and their network are actively dismantling democratic institutions. J.D. Vance, the MAGA heir, is being positioned to help implement this transition. The public is too distracted to realize what's happening. If successful, democracy in America will be permanently replaced by a corporate-run authoritarian state. Very interesting thread here. Wanted to share that with you. Someone had shared this interesting little graphic here. Red versus blue, Republican versus Democrat, right versus left. Call it whatever you want. It's a ruse to deceive us. They all have more in common with each other than they have with any of us. They're on one side and we're on the other. Always was, always will be. Back and forth, we keep flipping between the parties that they allow us to choose one of their puppets from. Yet, we continue to advance closer and closer to their end goal. Found this to be pretty interesting, and the graphic makes a lot of sense too, of course.
What if we told you that humanity is being driven to the brink of extinction by an illness? That all the poverty, the climate devastation, the perpetual war and consumption fetishism we see all around us have roots in a mass psychological infection. In his book, Wetiko, Healing the Mind Virus That Plagues Our World, Paul Levy argues that all of humanity is under the grasp of a psychological illness. Wetiko. Wetiko is a term used in Native American spirituality to describe a contagious psycho-spiritual disease of the soul and a parasite of the mind. In his book, Levy argues that the concept of Wetiko is present not just among the Native Americans, but in several spiritual traditions, including Kabbalah, Vedanta, and even the psychology of Carl Jung. He writes, Wetiko is a cannibalizing force driven by insatiable greed, appetite without satisfaction, consumption as an end in itself, and war for its own sake against other tribes, species, nature, and even the individual's own humanity. It is a disease of the soul, and being a disease of the soul, we all potentially have Wetiko, as it pervades and informs the underlying field of consciousness. Any one of us, at any moment, can fall into our unconscious and unwittingly become an instrument for the evil of Wetiko to act itself out through us and incarnate in our world. If we see someone who seems to be taken over by Wetiko, and we think they have the disease and we don't, in seeing them as separate, we have fallen under the spell of the virus ourselves. In this video, we will do a deep dive into the concept of Wetiko and how we can prevent ourselves from being infected by this mind virus. Later in this video, we will also talk about how Wetiko was perceived by the great Indian mystic, Sri Aurobindo.
So out of all of the concepts that I've covered in my videos, this has been among my favorite topics to cover, and I've been excited to look into a little bit further because this really seems like there's a whole lot more to it. I've done a bit of research, and some people are saying that this is essentially synonymous with evil, or it's evil incarnate, and it's essentially, as they're saying, a mind or a soul virus, and it hides in our blind spots.
We can understand Wetiko better by looking at the context of its origins. During the conquest of America, the subjugated native population believed that Wetiko was a disease that the white man had brought with him. The indigenous author Jack Forbes, who wrote the classic book about Wetiko, Columbus and Other Cannibals, referred to Wetiko as the sickness of exploitation. While Wetiko, as a mind virus, operates within the human psyche, it also operates in the outside world through the constant desire for acquisition, which was present within the early conquerors of America and continues in all capitalist societies today. Yep. The indigenous author Eduardo Duran writes about how the concept of Wetiko arose among the native population in his book, Healing the Soul Wound. The colonial process experienced by these people can be described as a collective raping process of the psyche of both the land and the people. In essence, the vampire or Wetiko bit the world, and the infection of the poison injected by the vampire has not been eradicated. Later in this video, we will discuss how the prevalence of depression in the modern world is also an example of Wetiko. The Kabbalah refers to a set of esoteric practices within Judaism. The Kabbalah has its own set of sacred texts which are supposed to explain the esoteric meaning of the Hebrew Bible. Levi argues in his book that the 16th century Jewish mystic Isaac Luria, who is seen as the father of the contemporary Kabbalah, recognized Wetiko in his writings. In Luria's writings, we see a creation story that conforms to the central idea of Wetiko, that it is an evil which was necessary for the creation of the world, but one that must also be overcome for spiritual evolution. The story goes like this. According to the Kabbalah, when it first arose within the divine will to create a universe, God poured his infinite light into vessels that he had prepared for this event. But the vessels were instantaneously filled and shattered by this influx of divine light. This catastrophic event, called the breaking of the vessels, shattered the vessels into shards. Each shard now trapped a portion of the divine light, seemingly separating these fragments of divine light from their source. These shards, known as the Kelipot, were like shells that imprisoned within themselves the divine light of God, which, because of their estrangement from their source, turned malevolent, becoming the source of evil and personal suffering. The Kelipot, therefore, are a symbol of all the evil in the world, even though their source is the divine light itself. And so, Levi writes, summarizing the moral of this creation story. Evil, which by definition is diametrically opposed to good, is paradoxically at the same time its very source. Evil has no life of its own. The very source of evil is the divine light. Though parasitically dependent upon the light of God, evil seeks to destroy holiness, which is to ultimately destroy everything, including itself. Importantly, however, the Kabbalah maintains that the breaking of the vessels was necessary, that evil was necessary and built into the very design of the universe. In the process of creation, God or the self becomes alienated from itself. but God had to become estranged from himself in order to, in the future, become more fully himself. Psychologically, this means that the individual ego, if it has to undergo transformation towards a higher spiritual reality, must be wounded or broken in some way in order to open up to the healing energies of the unconscious. This is because, according to the Kabbalah, a sinner who repents is on a higher level than the saint who has never sinned. The Russian philosopher Nikolai Berdyaev shared this view when he said, "The good which has triumphed over evil is superior to the good which preceded it." Wetiko is this same necessary evil which holds us back in our spiritual development, and it is only by overcoming Wetiko that we can reach a higher spiritual reality. Despite all your efforts towards progress, there may be times where one experiences setbacks, with bouts of depression holding us back. In such situations, Levy argues, we should recognize the role of Wetiko and its negative energies holding us back. One example of such a spiritual downfall is the dark night of the soul, an experience recounted by several Christian mythics who go through periods of doubt and a lack of spiritual zeal. The dark night is an inner psychological experience that involves feeling disconnected from the light and the source of life and descending into the darkness. But, Levy writes, it is only by going through these periods of darkness and even recognizing their necessity in our spiritual evolution that the light can be rediscovered in a deeper way. This is the state of melancholia, which is a healthy response to encountering our own darkness. Levy even argues that one should not medicate away melancholia with pills like antidepressants, which would prevent us from fully going through the natural process of the dark night. Just like the Kabbalah, Levy argues that even the great Indian mystic Sri Aurobindo referred to Wetiko without using that term for it. Instead, Sri Aurobindo constantly referred to the hostile forces which could cause the downfall of a spiritual practitioner. In his letters on yoga, Sri Aurobindo cautioned his followers, "The hostile forces are powers of darkness who are in revolt against the light and the truth, and want to keep this world under their rule in darkness and ignorance. Whenever anyone wants to reach the truth, to realize the divine, they stand in the way as much as possible. So they always try to destroy the work as a whole and to spoil the sadhana or spiritual practice of each sadhak or practitioner. They oppose the divine intention and the evolutionary purpose in the human being." Shockingly, Sri Aurobindo even went into great detail about the strategy of the hostile forces and how they bring about our downfall. He wrote, "Their way of testing is to take advantage of any point of weakness and push with all their force at that point to break down the sadhana. The first thing the attack does is to try to cloud the mind's intelligence. Then they create a great depression, discouragement, despair. That is their favorite weapon. They put in suggestions to the mind so as to make it also accept the disturbance. This should alert us to a few symptoms of Wetiko taking over us. Brain fog, depression, and doubt about spiritual truths can all be understood as the arrival of the hostile forces within our psyche. Sri Aurobindo's spiritual collaborator, Mira Alfasa, known simply as the Mother, also cautioned her followers about these hostile forces. She explained, "Their method is to try first to cast their influence upon a man. Then they enter slowly into his atmosphere and in the end may get complete possession of him, driving out entirely the real human soul and personality. Wow. These creatures, when in possession of an earthly body, may have the human appearance, but they have not a human nature. Their habit is to draw upon the life force of human beings. They attack and capture vital power wherever they can and feed upon it." Wow. This leads Levy to the conclusion that a person completely taken over by Wetiko is not a real human being, but a vampire. They appear as humans, but are actually evil beings that take away our vital and precious life force by creating depression within us. But how can we fight these forces? Levy cautions us. One of the major ways the hostile forces work is to get us to unconsciously identify with their version of who we are. They seduce us to become overwhelmed, depressed, filled with despair and pessimism in a world seemingly going to hell in a handbasket. It is not just helpful, but crucial to recognize the attack from the hostile forces as something foreign coming from outside of ourselves, that is, other than ourselves, and hence falls to our true being. So, we must always recognize, whenever we go through depression or experience negative energies of any kind, that those energies are not us. They are outside, hostile forces attacking our spiritual development. Sri Aurobindo writes, "The concentration in the heart is the way to get rid of them, but there must also be a detachment of the consciousness so that it can stand back from the attack and feel separate from it. We must always remember that the light of the self or God is always with us. This presence is available even in its seeming absence, even when we are completely under the grasp of Wetiko. As Levy eloquently writes, even on the cloudiest of days the sun is in the sky radiantly shining, its light merely temporarily obscured. One way of conceiving of spiritual practice is that it dispels the clouds that obscure our light, so that we can just let our light naturally shine." Even thinking that we are a separate self, disconnected from other individuals and from nature, is a part of Wetiko. Levy, in his book, highlights that another name for Wetiko is me disease. Conceiving of ourselves as a separate, disconnected self is Wetiko's main act. It is this separation from all which creates isolation and depression within us. Recognizing the purpose of Wetiko, but then also overcoming it, is the only thing that can reconnect us with our spiritual selves. For this, we must first get rid of our vain desires. Humanity's insatiability is, according to Carl Jung, the sickness of Western man, and he will not rest until he has infected the whole world with his own greedy restlessness. Today, greed, with its origins in the ego and Wetiko, is the foundation of our modern societies. We must, therefore, find a way to keep living in this world without being affected by Wetiko at both the individual as well as the societal level.
That was a tremendous watch, actually. A lot of that really makes sense to me. For some reason, something that comes right to mind is you hear a lot about the woke mind virus. That seems to me like it very well could be a way to cover up something like this, to put, to slap a label on it that would veer people away from finding out something like this, because this absolutely makes sense. This goes beyond just simple politics. This does seem to be evil finding its way into humanity and our consciousness. Really wild stuff, and it does make a lot of sense to me. So I was just editing some videos and letting YouTube play in the background, just autoplay some stuff. I don't typically watch politics, but I don't necessarily avoid it just to see what kind of stuff is going on in the world. But this in particular creator, I don't even think I'd seen any of his content before, but he was just playing in the background and I caught one part of it that really brought me down a whole rabbit hole. So let's go ahead and dive into the clip real quick.
In the beginning, we didn't actually know anything about rockets. So our first 3 missions failed, actually, of our Falcon 1 rocket. And we almost ran out of money and just barely made it with the 4th launch. If the 4th launch of Falcon 1 had not...
Just watching that land, it just doesn't even look real. It's really amazing. It really is.
In the beginning, we didn't actually know anything about rockets.
So This creator says this doesn't even look real, and I had heard about this NASA or SpaceX going to save the astronauts, and I just kind of shrugged it off like, oh, that's interesting, current event, but I didn't look into it too much. But this came on, and I was like, oh, let me view the source, let me see exactly how it looks. I'll judge for myself on whether or not it looks real. So I pull up the official video. So we're watching the actual footage of this splashdown from SpaceX.
As you can see there on your screen, continuing to monitor progress of the Dragon spacecraft. And we're going to stand by
And now,
for a splashdown located in the Gulf of
what are these black marks, black lines going across my video? And why does this look fake to me? This looks AI generated to me. But this is the official video. But it looks fake to me. Okay. Whatever. It is what it is. They continue forward, and there's dolphins that appear at some point to say hi to them. So crazy. Okay. I haven't done this today. Let's just sort by new and see what people are saying about it. That landing was so obviously CGI and fake. Those parachutes looked horrible. Fakest AI nonsense I've ever seen. Why not show the real landing? Looks CGI to me. All of these people agree with me. So I look at the comments for that smaller creators YouTube video about it. You know, just people that tune in for the politics, I would assume, because I believe it's just a politics channel, not necessarily a conspiracy channel like mine. But sure enough, the viewers, the political channel viewers are all making comments here. Not all of them. There wasn't nearly as many as we'll go over soon. But in the comments here, there's a bunch of people questioning it, saying it looks fake. This is one of my favorites here. Fake Freemasonic astronauts in fake Freemasonic space, creating fake Freemasonic drama. And then, of course, down here at the bottom, the world is a stage. Yes, we are in one big Truman Show, folks. So that's just the comments for the individual creators. Looking at the comments to the official broadcast of it, official landing, it's not even comparable. There were hundreds of people saying, this looks fake. Why? Why does this look fake? Hundreds of people saying it, and as I just showed you, people still commenting on it. People are seeing this. I asked my Discord channel, what is this all about? Why does this look fake to me? Because maybe some more intelligent individuals in the Discord were able to enlighten me. One of our members replies, couple of things making the video look fake. It's filmed using a drone and not from a boat, so there is nearly no wake in the water from it. The camera is also highly optimized to post-process with HDR and possibly AI-type filters, making everything look unrealistic, smooth textured. If anything, they are purposely using video game graphic filters of kinds to untrain the human eyes for the future to be unable to distinguish between real, because it looks fake, and fake that looks real enough. I replied, I suppose that does make sense, but that opens another can of worms. Why are they trying to train that? And they reply, they are going to turn content creation corporate, TV actors, movie actors, YouTubers, voice actors, TikTokers, everyone is going to be replaced by AI personalities by the year 2040. So I found that interesting, and I decided I needed to do a little bit more research, and I came across Fittest Flat Earther, a fellow creator, that covers some very controversial conspiracies, and he discussed this as well in a video, so we'll go ahead and shout out him, and we'll go ahead and play that real quick.
Hey, it's you again. I know you. I remember you from that last time. You're that adorable, sweet, innocent human that believes this whole NASA narrative of these astronauts being stuck in space for months after months after months. Well, I want to show you some things, again, to help you question what they're telling you. Follow along. You see, this is after they get him aboard the ship, and they're looking at him for the first time, and I just want you to pay attention to something. I want you to watch the fakery that goes on in all NASA edits. Now watch the camera guy go in here and film them, and then of course they cut, because they always cut. That's what NASA does. But that is not the same as that. Those are two completely different shots, and they cut there thinking that most people wouldn't notice. But I notice. Now let me show you some other cuts. This is a video in fast forward of a rocket launch of theirs, and I just want you to see how many cuts they make. And you know why they make cuts? So you don't realize that this thing eventually goes up and then starts coming down, because it's not going to space, you silly Billy. These are fake rockets, and they go up and they curve, and usually they land in the Bermuda Triangle. Now look at here. Just look, I mean, that's clearly coming down, and they make the camera cuts so you don't notice that it's coming down. And that's what they do. If you watch any of NASA's stuff with an inquisitive eye instead of just a "I love you, NASA," a believing eye, well, if you're any intelligent human being whatsoever, you'll see that the guys with the snake tongue through their logo, that when you do some gematria, their literal name adds up to the number of the beast. And also T minus 10 seconds. T minus. Do you know why they say T minus? Because T minus NASA equals that. So you can go on believing their 5 different cuts that they show you in every single one of their videos, or you can wisen up and figure out that they're pulling one over on you. But like I said, still find it, you're adorable. You're cute that you still think NASA's the good guys. They're anything but. They don't care about you. In fact, they take $70 million of your tax money every single day to deceive you. Because you probably know this already, or maybe you don't because you're adorable. NASA, it also means to deceive. Nasha, actually, in Hebrew. So check into that one too. But of course, all this is for entertainment. I'm sure that that's definitely not a snake tongue going through there, and that their name just coincidentally adds up to 666, the number of the beast. And I'm a satire account, and I don't really care about helping wake up humanity.
Very interesting. Makes you think, if nothing else, and pretty decently well put together evidence. Let's watch one more that he brought to us regarding the subject.
You know who I find just absolutely adorable? You. You, if you believe any of this Dragon, SpaceX, go save the astronauts from the ISS stuff. You're precious. I just find you so innocent and pure. But I have some things to show you. First, what you need to know is that the ISS is supposedly traveling at a whopping 17,000 miles per hour at all times. It doesn't speed up or slow down, otherwise it can't stay in orbit. And while there seems to be some discrepancy in how fast it looks like it's moving, here it is as Dragon is coming into dock. And well, it doesn't look like it's moving at all, and the Earth, it's just barely inching along there. But when you go to it ejecting, something changes drastically. A lot of motion here from both the Earth or the ISS. One of the two looks like it's moving. Supposedly they both are at great speeds. Now I want to show you some footage from the Joe Rogan show when he had an astronaut on, and pay close attention to what the astronaut says, confirming how fast they're moving.
It can prepare you for everything except for the visual. When you get up there and you see the whole Earth below you, some people go out there and get like a sense of fear of falling. But of course, if you let go, you're not going anywhere.
Right.
The space station's moving 17,500 miles an hour, but so are you.
Wow, space is magical. It's amazing how slow 17,000 miles per hour looks when you're up in space. It's magical. How does space do that? It slows things down even though they're going so fast. Let me show you what just 6,599 miles per hour looks like from this supersonic sled. Check it out. 6,000 miles per hour. And let's take a look again. This time, let's look at half speed. And now this is supposedly 3 times faster at 17,000 miles per hour. And I know what some of you are going to say, but perspective, the Earth is so far away that it just doesn't really look like it's moving. Well, that's fine. You can say that, but let's at least be consistent. Here's that 17,000 miles per hour again, or the Earth in something's not right here. Something's not consistent. And I'm telling you, start looking at these things with an inquisitor's eye instead of a believer's eye. Now I want to show you something else. You know what else travels at 17,000 miles per hour? The space rockets that are supposedly leaving Earth's orbit. They go at 17,000 miles per hour. And while the International Space Station is supposedly, and I say supposedly every time because supposedly it's only 254 miles high, orbiting the Earth. So that's not that far, right? So why did it take 29 hours to get there when it's going 17,000 miles per hour? A typical airplane travels at a cruising speed of about 500 or 600 miles per hour. So for an airplane going 500 or 600 miles per hour, it would only take about an hour to an hour and 15 minutes to travel 254 miles. Yet the Dragon, that's going 17,000 miles per hour, took 29 hours to reach the ISS, which is, again, just orbiting the Earth at supposedly 254 miles high. Maybe these rockets that they tell us travel at these tremendous speeds, like 17,000 miles per hour, aren't traveling as fast as they say. That looks like a balloon slowly launching up into the atmosphere. And maybe not only are they not going as fast, maybe they're not going to the places they tell us they're going to. I mean, have you ever seen what the flight paths look like? Oh, hey, speaking of balloons, did you ever see when NASA jettisoned one of its giant metal 1,000-pound fuel tanks and how it looked like a balloon just slowly meandering, making its way back down to Earth? Do you know what I want to do for you since I find you so cute and adorable? I want to give you the chance and the opportunity that I never had. I want to tell you, if you still believe that those rockets are going to space and rescuing astronauts that have been on the ISS for months, I'm giving you the opportunity to say, just look, explore, and maybe these astronauts that you think are in space might just be in water. And maybe there's just green screen and other technology that they're using to manipulate you and to fool you into thinking that space travel is real and the Earth is moving and that it's not an enclosed system. Well, I'm here and I'm telling you, I'm knocking on your door saying, look into it. You see, I never had someone tap me on the shoulder and say, Tyler, look at this. Why are there discrepancies here? Why is it taking them 29 hours when it's 250 miles away and they're going 17,000 miles per hour? Why are there discrepancies in the first U.S. versus Russian spacewalk? I mean, the Earth literally is moving faster here than here, and don't even get me started on just how really real it looks. So like I said, I'm giving you a softball. I'm hoping you hit it out of the park. But don't just believe me, you innocent, beautiful, adorable, sweet human that is trusting and just trust people, because we should be able to trust people. Get annoyed enough by me that you go to try to prove me wrong and see what happens. But of course, all this for entertainment purposes. I'm sure that the Dragon rocket went up and only took 29 hours because it had to take a parabolic curve path and slingshot around the moon to be able to catch up to the ISS because it's going so fast. And even though it was going so fast, it still took 29 hours going 17,000 miles per hour when it was only 250 miles away. And like I said, entertainment only, just like I'm sure these are all curved because it's going around the curve of the Earth. Entertainment only.
Question everything, guys. Question absolutely everything. I have no idea. This all makes sense to me. Everything that he's bringing forth logically clicks to me. But as far as what it would mean if what he's saying is true, is that is what doesn't click with me. It's the scale of the implications that I have a really hard time wrapping my mind around. And I guess that's the whole kit and caboodle there. That's everything that they are relying on, is the fact that it's so big. It's such a massive, incomprehensibly large scale that our reality is fabricated. Everything from the ground up, for the most part. Everything is at least susceptible to being a fabrication of some kind. It's also interesting that they name the pod, or the capsule, Dragon, which in general is a little suspicious or fishy towards the Luciferian agenda. I can see how people can go down rabbit holes and become unable to pull themselves back up, because this is some heavy shit. And I don't know what to think, but I do know it's interesting, and it's fun to ponder all of this wild conspiratorial stuff. I think with all that said, we've had enough existential dread and deep discussion for tonight. I want to thank you guys all so much for tuning in. You are appreciated. I want to remind you guys all to question everything, including everything I said. And be sure to like and subscribe on your way out. Much appreciated. I'll see you guys all next time. Cheers.